Yeah, we're gonna get straight into it, guys. Let's finish off that video that I had started with us reacting to, uh, yeah, just the way uh, Ramaphosa allowed himself to be spoken to by Donald Trump.
Legislature.
Let me
and
clarify that.
terrible. Yeah,
Let me
please.
clarify that because what you saw, the speeches that were being made, one, that is not government policy. We have a multi-party democracy in South Africa that allows people to express themselves, political parties to adhere to various policies, and in many cases, or in some cases, those policies do not go along with government policy. Our government policy is completely.
You know, it's crazy to me that Ramaphosa isn't catching on to the game that's being played here. Your imperialists are not interested in the truth. They're not oppressing you because they misunderstood the truth. They're not oppressing you because um, they're not oppressing you because there's a detail somewhere that they don't understand and they need clarity, you know, on it. That's not what's going on here. They know exactly what they're doing. They're doing it deliberately. And you, as a black person, you're being put into this position where, through propaganda, oh my gosh, through propaganda, you're being pushed into this corner where you have to explain yourself. And the implication is that you are hypocritical for not wanting to be oppressed when you yourself agree with the dominance of your own race or the dominance of your own culture. And this is what white people keep trying to expose, this idea of multiracialism and diversity, democracy, all the things they preach, they're making us justify these things to the world. Because best believe, white people don't believe in democracy; they believe in a dictatorship. Um, but what they sell to the world is the idea that democracy works. It doesn't. But they have to sell that to the world to handicap the competition. So while the competition is trying to play by those rules, they're not playing by those rules at all. They're doing the complete opposite. And you have to be foolish um, to allow white people to dictate the terms of engagement like this. But either that or compromise. And what we're seeing from Ramaphosa is not stupid, man. These guys know what they're doing. Oftentimes, the ANC and this black proxy government is sold as being incompetent. And no, man, they're just puppets that are playing a role and they're getting compensated for it. This humiliation ritual, Ramaphosa is down with what's going on here. He understands exactly what he's supposed to do, which is to take the hits, to take the bullets for white supremacy. Because he's not black, guys. He's black and only in skin color, but this is a colonized individual. Like, I don't know if people fully understand that when someone's mind is made up, or if you can infiltrate someone's thinking, you can overthrow any foundational belief that they have outside of what you're telling them. I always make the example of the movie Inception. You go deep enough into somebody's unconscious with your influence, that person will not know who they are. They will not recognize themselves. You can brainwash somebody who's black into thinking that they're white. This is what we're seeing. Ramaphosa is not black. He's a brainwashed individual. I mean, brainwashed to the extreme. So he's not there representing He's just learned political rhetoric. He's not there representing black people. How could he represent black people? He doesn't live among black people. He doesn't experience the pain that black people experience every day in South Africa. He lives a sheltered life far away from anything that has to do with blackness and black people and black culture. That type of individual cannot be your leader. Hello? That's not the person that can represent the interests of the people. He cannot be your leader. He's not desperate to find solutions to fix problems that he's affected by.
Completely against what he was saying, even in the parliament.
That smug look on Trump's face is because he knows it's working. We got them. All of this is, guys, all of this is orchestrated. It's all orchestrated. Obviously, Ramaphosa didn't know that he was going to get ambushed, but he's just being used as a brainwashed puppet. Ramaphosa doesn't have the capacity to reason outside of his programming. So when they make him look like a fool, he doesn't have a sobering wake up moment or moment of realization to say, hey, man, they're playing me for a fool. No, he still thinks he's white. He just wants to be a part of the club, man. This is what happens when you abandon your culture and you put another man's culture above yours. This is what it looks like. When you abandon your culture and you put another man's culture above yours, this is what it looks like.
And they're a small minority party, which is allowed to exist in terms of our constitution.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
No.
That is an outright lie. No one is allowed to take land and nobody has taken land. It hasn't happened. Trump is speaking as if this is a matter of fact. He's like, you're allowing people to take land, to murder people, and which is a lie. Even the farm killings, these guys don't kill the farmers and then take over the land. That's not happening. That has never happened. So Ramaphosa right now he's starstruck. He's in awe of this moment that his white colonial master is sitting across from him and giving him attention. This is not the type of person that can represent you. Let me show you something, guys. Let me show you something quick. Hold on. Give me one. In fact, I'm gonna have this going on in the background while I got some for you. Watch this. Watch this. I know I'm saying it like I'm gonna drop it right now immediately, but it's gonna take some time to load. Hold up. Watch this. Oh, hold on, bro. Hold on. This is why I prefer this format. What? Oh, okay. You can only upload maximum. Okay, that's stupid. But anyway, must be a memory thing. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, there we go. Trust me, the reason the ANC is gatekeeping these positions in leadership in the state and trying to prevent any revolutionaries from entering into the government is because the NPA doesn't want anybody to enter that as a revolutionary spirit. That's why they assassinated Chris Honey. If Chris Honey had continued to remain alive, guys, we would have had a revolution. We would have had a violent revolution led by the MK, which is the military wing. There's no ways you can have a revolution without a military wing. Your military's job is to
Kali groups
make
it
sure
with
that
the
the
singing
interests of the people are
of the
protected.
song.
It's nonsensical.
What's
So
this?
first and foremost, it's extremely racist to presume.
This is how you respond to the Kill the Boer song. I'm just putting these things side by side to help you guys understand. South Africans are not cowards. It's not like we don't have the ability to respond to these racists and these bigots, and that it's not like we don't have dignity and pride. We do. But unfortunately, on the world stage, people are going to see this freaking puppet and not see
Kali
typically
groups it with
the
the
voice
singing
that represents Black South Africans, right? So, for example, this is Sinawa Tambo talking about this Kill the Boer song that was sang by Julius Malema. You're hearing Ramaphosa on one end stuttering. Ramaphosa is a man that's senior in his years and has enough experience to know how to deal with these situations in a way to dignify South African people. Now, I want you to listen to, at this point, probably a 26-year-old, 25-year-old Sinawa Tambo defending the singing of this song and effectively defending a struggle song and defending the people, sitting next to this Creole guy, Kali Creole, and making him look like an absolute idiot. This is what we were expecting on the international stage. This type of response. Let me show you. Watch this. So the interview asks him about the song Kill the Boer, and listen to how Sinawa Tambo responds to Kali Creole and all these racist Afrikaners complaining about the singing of the song. Listen.
Kali groups it with the singing of the song.
It's nonsensical. So first and foremost, it's extremely racist to presume that black people are of so low intellectual and emotional capacity that a song would incite them to go and kill people. It's racist. It's undermining of our people. That's the first thing. The second thing is that AfriForum and many racist and right-wing groups in South Africa and internationally want to exceptionalize the death of white people. So when a white person dies due to violence or crime, which is prevalent in South Africa, it must become an international crisis. From January to March this year, 6,200 people died in South Africa. Not even 0.5% of those people were murdered in farms or were murdered as a relation to farm murders. So why is this a debate? Why are we not focusing on crime as a central point in why people are being killed, even on farms? But because they exceptionalize themselves, because they have white self-entitlement, and because they think white life is over and above any life in South Africa, that even if one life is lost, there must be international uproar. That's why we're having this debate today. It's a sideshow that is trying to distract the EFF from its successful 10th anniversary celebrations. And if we wanted to do anything, we could have done it on that day. There were 100,000 people at FNB Stadium. We could have marched to the closest suburb and done what they think we want to do. We have no intention of killing white people. There's no policy in the EFF that says we're going to kill white people. This is a liberation song. We're going to defend it as well. And it's unfortunate that many liberation movements who are part and parcel of this culture are not at the forefront of defending it. But as an organization that has inherited this struggle from our forefathers, we're going to do it. But it's nonsensical and it's undermining of our people to think a song is going to make them go and kill people. He can't prove it himself. He said it now. There's no evidence that the people who were killed, the 3 people who were killed last week, were killed as a result of kill the boer, kill the farmer. AfriForum is involved in an elaborate fundraising initiative. They use Swat Khafar tactics. They want to alarm people, and they get this attention so that they can fund their trip to the bush to go and shoot at paper targets and drink brandy and coke. This is what they're doing, and that's all they're going to be doing moving forward.
Evidence is material, Kali, especially when you're dealing with a hot button issue like.
He said it to them. You can't prove it. You can't prove it. Notice, all the engagements have nothing to do with statistics. Because they say, oh, we can't trust the statistics that come out from black people, which is racist in and of itself. So when we give you the facts, you say, no, these can't be trusted because they came from black people. They're not competent enough to collect stats. I mean, the levels. Because they say, well, we can't trust the statistics that come out from black people, which is oh my gosh. Oh, hold on. Dog, my mic. Yo, what up? Hold on. Just give me a second to see what go on. How is this any different? Okay, I see what's going on here. Damn, this is all a scam. Anyway, uh, what's this? What's this, right? So they won't, when you give them facts and data, they say, oh no, we can't trust that because it came from black people. Doug, what are we doing here? So they get to dictate, they get to change the rules as they go. They get to dictate the terms of engagement. When you cast them out, they move the goalposts and say, oh no, that's not valid because of who you are. You're black. So even when you are in possession of the truth and the facts and the stats and the correct history, oh no, that's not valid because you're black and you're not competent. Think about it. White people literally live and function purely off of propaganda. That's white nation is propaganda world. It's a nation of propaganda. They don't care about the truth. You out here trying to do research and find, no, they're just framing things in a particular way to make it hard for you to argue otherwise. And what they do is when you have a stronger argument than them, they bombard you with propaganda. They ambush you. It's all about who's got the bigger megaphone, bro. This is life. I'm trying to tell you guys. It's not about right and wrong. And no, that's not what this thing is about. This is all about who has the bigger megaphone, who can make the most noise. That's who wins. That's who's going to win at the end of the day. Anyway, let's continue watching Ramaphosa making a mockery of South Africa.
Nobody can
And then
take
when they
land.
take the land, they kill the white farmer. And when they kill the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
No, there is quite
Nothing happens to
there
them.
is criminality in our country. People who do get killed, unfortunately through criminal activity, are not only white people. Majority of them are black people. And we have now
The
been
farmers are
utilized.
black. The farmers are not black.
We-
I don't
now-
say that's good or bad, but the farmers are not black. And the people that are being killed in large numbers, and
Dude, the farm workers are black. The statistics show that the black farm workers are getting killed and black farm owners are getting killed at a similar half of the farm killings are black workers and black farmers. So it's not just affecting white farmers, what's going on. But see, Ramaphosa is there not to try to debate Donald Trump. He's there to submit to him. Because primarily he went there to beg for money as opposed to allowing us to be sovereign. We're being driven into further forms of dependency. That is neo-colonialism. We're being driven into further forms of dependency by a so-called liberation movement that have liberated nothing. Anyway.
And you saw all those grave sites, and those are people that loved ones going, I guess, a Sunday morning, they told me, to pay respect to.
Only 2 people died. And all the people that were affected by, only 2 people died. In at that ceremony that you watched with that video, it was only 2 people. And to commemorate The other people that had died with the crosses, they brought those crucifixes out to represent the lives that had been lost. And it wasn't only white farmers, black people, colored people, people of different races were getting killed on farms. And that's what those crosses represented. That was not the graveside or the graveyard of white Afrikaner farmers. No. That particular video on that day was to commemorate two Afrikaners that were killed on a farm. But the crucifixes were there to represent the lives of people of all races that had been affected by farm murders. There's a whole index with names of people of different races in South Africa affected by this thing, which is a crime issue, not a genocide issue. And again, these crimes are not being ordered by the black South African public because we ourselves are victims of it. This crime is coming primarily because of foreigners coming into South Africa. A lot of these foreigners are criminals in their own countries or come to South Africa to do criminal activity in order to survive because of how impoverished their countries are. So Ramaphosa had so many different ways to tackle this thing, but he chose to bend the knee. He chose to kiss the ring and beg for money, representing a country that is rich in minerals, rich in things that the world wants. Instead of us industrializing, we're outsourcing everything, importing everything, becoming more and more of a dependent state, a colony of white capital, which means the apartheid government never left. They just ran through a black proxy government. That's all they did. They just continued to run through a black proxy government.
To their loved ones that were killed, their heads chopped off, they died violently, and you know, I mean, we're here to talk about it, and I didn't know we'd get involved here, but I will say this, that if the news wasn't fake like NBC, which is fake news totally, one of the worst, ABC, NBC, CBS, horrible, but if they weren't fake news like this jerk that we have here, if we had real reporters, they'd be covering it. But
so now Trump is talking about, oh, if we had real, real journalists, or if we had real, people covering the news. And okay, let me show you something. The same person that's talking about fake news, no? Same person talking about fake news. What's this? When he was showing all those clippings, those paper, those files of all the so-called people that had died horribly because of farm murders. This picture he's showing is one from the Congo. And the article talks about tribalism in the Congo. This picture is not showing white Afrikaans farm killings. It has nothing to do with white Afrikaners, but it's a part of the stash of paperwork that he's using as evidence, because he's calling everybody else fake news. But he himself is holding up fake news right now in this picture. You think this, bruh, these guys don't care about the truth. I keep trying to tell you guys. These dudes don't care about the news. These dudes don't care about what's fair or what's right. No, they don't. So it's very foolish to think that this is a struggle for truth. No. This is pure propaganda. Like, I'm talking about propaganda at its at its finest. This is what it looks like. All right. So yeah, unfortunately, Ramaphosa is a puppet that's okay with embarrassing black people like this and representing the interests of whites. But this is the guy that's talking about journalists reporting fake news while holding up fake news himself. I mean, guys, it's laughable what's going on here. None of this should ever be taken seriously. But there are white people who understand exactly what's going on, that perpetuate these lies deliberately and that play victim and say, oh, we're being oppressed, we're being attacked, and this is reverse racism. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. And they will go on unchallenged. They will go on unchallenged. Let me to give this a different title. Hold on. Oh boy. All right. Yeah, I got a nice title for this now. All right. Yeah, guys, you know, that's what we're dealing with, bro. That's what we're dealing with here, guys. He's crying about fake news while holding up fake news. That man said, "Oh, but they won't. They won't talk about it, bro. Why won't you talk about the fake news you're holding up right now? Talk about the fake news you're holding up right now. I mean, guys, this is comedy, man. It's comedy. You can't take this seriously with this level of lies and propaganda. Come, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing for real?" Anyway, I don't want this video to be too long, so let me round it up.
The United States Air Force, so they could help us out, because we need an Air Force One until our that's Air Force One. It's being built, 2 of them being built. But Boeing's a little bit late, unfortunately. So why did they give us a plane to the United States Air Force? That's what that idiot talks about after viewing a thing where thousands of people are dead.
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did. I would take it. If your country offered the United States Air Force a plane, I would take it.
Okay. But coming back to this issue, which I really would like us to talk about, and talk about it very calmly. We were taught by Nelson Mandela that whenever there are problems, people need to sit down around the table and to talk about them.
Well,
and this is precisely what we would also like to talk about, including, of course, trade matters, investment matters. So the issues that concern you as the United States.
Those are all recent. Those are all deaths.
Yeah, in many ways, I mean, one should say you are a partner of South Africa, and you are raising concerns.
Bruh, all you had to do, Ramaphosa, was just read one of these titles very briefly, one of these stories very briefly. This article heading says, let's talk about Africa, which is where tribalism takes you. It's not talking about white Afrikaans farm murders. But this man just put a stack of papers of fake news in Ramaphosa's hands. I mean, the irony in this is unbelievable. It is astounding. The gaslighting in this is astounding. Trump is talking about people coming up with fake news while himself using fake news and lying in front of the whole world. Ramaphosa couldn't at any moment just catch this guy out. Ramaphosa just took a victimhood mentality from the very beginning, which I understand. When you are oppressed, that tends to happen to you. You develop a sense of helplessness. You lose all faith and belief in yourself. And like I said, this Ramaphosa guy is fully colonized. He cannot think for himself. He's a victim of colonization. But for Trump to take that stack of papers and put it in Ramaphosa's hands, one, is so disrespectful. Because Ramaphosa's like, yeah, we're here to talk about this thing. He's trying to do this in a sensible way. And Trump is like, nah, I'm not here to listen to anything you have to say, bro. There's thousands of people there that have been killed, which again, that video is a lie. It's white and black people. It's not a farm white targeted. It's not white targeted killings. But Ramaphosa couldn't dispute anything, bro. He couldn't dispute anything, bro. Like anything, dog. At least dispute one thing. This, yo, bro, this ninja he just took it on the. Puppet government right here. This does not represent South Africans.
And these are concerns that we are willing to talk to you about. Let me just add quickly, the criminality that we're experiencing in our country needs quite a lot of technological capability. And
this is what he came for. Let me explain to you how white people briefed Ramaphosa. They said, listen, we're going to get Starlink into the country, but before we do, we're going to ruin South Africa's reputation with these 146 race-based laws, so-called race-based laws that they've been peddling, which is a lie. It's redress, and our constitution allows for it. It wouldn't be in the freaking constitution. Bro, think about it. Why would it be in the constitution that's coming out of apartheid and then have the same rules? It's redress. It's redress for 400 years of colonialism and dispossession. South African people's land was stolen from them. Right? I hate even using the term South African because it's not a real thing. These are companies that white people came up with. But if you look at the Southern African kingdoms, their land and their farming land was stolen from them, and it was legislated by the colonial governments. When power was given back to black people, the state was given back, the laws were not amended to return the land that was stolen. Instead, we were told to continue functioning on as if the farmland doesn't now belong to a small 7% minority, which means now we're dependent on our oppressors for food and our sustenance. So the redress in the Constitution is an attempt at making legislation to try to fix the inequality that this lopsided colonial oppression caused. But because the white Afrikaans government had no interest in redress and no interest in reparations, they planned all along that they're going to install a black government just to stop the sanctions, and then over time ruin the names of black people through propaganda and talking about black incompetence, a state that was failing because the private sector was making sure that it fails so that they could boot them out. It's an economic coup. That's really what this is. It's an economic coup d'etat. So you cannot say you have your country back until you get the land and its minerals back. Until such time, you are still under oppression. So we are still under apartheid. And nothing has changed at all except for a black proxy government that's made it okay for the white ruling class to stage an economic coup d'etat and get power back and get state power back. Now they can have organized slavery with the consent of the public through employment, but without ownership and without control of the means of production.
In one of our areas in South Africa, we're using US technology, which is able to, in many ways, identify where shootings are happening and all that. And I'd like to talk about it because there is support that we can get from you, as the United States, to help us deal with all these acts of criminality. And that is what I believe partnership is all about. And we are here as a partner so that we can help each other whenever there are challenges. So I'd like us to discuss it, and of course outside of the media, so that we sit down and have a really good discussion that will lead to good outcomes.
He said, let's discuss it outside of the media. Bro, he just embarrassed you in front of the whole world. But you want to go and beg in a quiet place and have a good discussion with somebody that doesn't respect you. And him disrespecting you like that shows you what he thinks about black South Africans. So Ramaphosa, my guy, you sold the country. Well, we've been known that you guys sold the country a long time ago. But look at you. Look at your face. You're embarrassed. Oh.
Any other further punitive measures that could be in place should you not be satisfied that South Africa is fixing some of the very bad things in the comments that you tweeted are happening?
Well, there are a lot of
Did you hear the question that was just asked? What punitive measures are you going to take to ensure that in case South Africa does not do something about the very bad things that are happening? So they're not going to call it a genocide because they know that's false. They can't take it to the ICJ and open a case and show this evidence. You can't show Julius Malema singing Kill the Boer on a stage as evidence at the ICJ for a white genocide. But what's happening here now is that the questions are staged. These questions have been carefully planned and it's all been rehearsed. There are certain people that are supposed to ask specific questions at a particular time. So to say, what punitive measures are you going to take to ensure that Ramaphosa stops the very bad things that are happening in the country, is to basically say, how will America punish South Africa for not listening to America? Bro, that means you're a colony. That means you're not a sovereign country. That's what this question is implying. And Donald Trump knew he was going to be asked this. This is all a performance, guys. These guys know what they're doing. America is a Broadway production. It's Hollywood. It's a movie. It's a stage production, movie production. This is the big screen. These questions have been framed carefully, staged carefully, rehearsed carefully. So the framing of this question means Donald Trump is now in charge of South Africa. And again, there's people controlling who gets to ask which questions from the media. They don't allow certain people to just shout and say whatever. And even if you shout a question, Donald Trump is just going to ignore it and only answer the question of the person that is scripted to be there.
a lot of bad things happening in many countries, but this in particular has been very, very bad, very bad. And because of we're going to have the whole world watching in another short period of time because you have the G20, and that's a big deal. And it seems like, I mean, I want you to look good. I don't want you to look bad.
Very good.
But we have hundreds of.
He said, "I want you to look good. I don't want you to look bad." I mean, bro, the double-tongued duplicitousness of white people is insane. The irony of saying the G20 is coming and I want you to look good. Then if you want him to look good, why did you set him up? To embarrass him and make him look bad. How do you guys trust white people? I'm fascinated. Let me put it like this. Black men, how do you guys marry white women? Like, how do you do it? How do you do it, bro? White and mixed people, because they've got white blood in them. How do you guys do it? This man said G20. I mean, he's basically compromising the G20 by saying South Africa as a state is a genocide state that's killing white people. And they're perpetuating this lie with these questions. Now they're cementing it as if it's a reality by framing it as a reality, saying, what are you going to do if he doesn't stop these white killings, these genocides? And Trump says, I'm trying to make you look good here. So first he creates the problem and then he offers himself as a solution. Yo. All right, guys.
Thousands of people trying to come into our country because they feel they're going to be killed and their land is going to be confiscated. And you do have laws that were passed that gives you the right to confiscate land for no payment. You can take away land for no payment.
I want to clarify that because we have a constitution. Our constitution guarantees and protects the sanctity of tenure of land ownership.
The problem is Trump is not trying to understand the truth. He's framing things. Ramaphosa doesn't get it. Well, I don't know. Does he get it? Does he not? Is he just brainwashed and a puppet and doesn't? Who knows the extent of which he understands? He's trying to clarify it. No, he's not interested in the explanation. He's telling the world what to believe. The truth doesn't matter at this point because he's saying to the world, this is what you are going to believe because we're saying it louder.
And that constitution protects all South Africans with regard to land ownership. However, we do say, because we've got to deal with the past, the government, and as your government also has the right to expropriate land for public use.
And you're doing that.
And we've never really gotten underway with that. And we are going to be doing so.
You're taking people's land away
we have not.
from them. And those people in many cases are being executed. They're being executed. And they happen to be...
bruh, it's just, listen to the choice of wording. He says the people's land is being taken and they're being executed. This is absurd. So what about the black people that are dying? Does it also count as an execution? So the thing with Ramaphosa, he doesn't understand that Trump is not even going to let him finish. He's not interested in your explanation. He's not putting him in his place and saying, you can't keep interrupting me. Are you going to let me finish? No, he doesn't have that thing in him to say that to Trump. So Trump is just going to keep cutting in, keep speaking over him, keep stopping him from explaining the actual truth because Trump doesn't want to hear the truth. He's going to keep highlighting your killing. Oh, but people are dying. Oh, well, we just watched the video. Oh, well, I hear you, but there's 1,000 people that are dying. Oh, I hear you, but you're executing them. I mean, that's all he's doing. It's like he opened with that bomb of a video and then a couple of articles that, again, further perpetuate the falsities and lies. And now he's just writing. And then the journalists come with more framing of this white genocide, which is a lie. And essentially, they've stamped this as a reality. And Ramaphosa is just getting ambushed, and he can't. And Ramaphosa has a team of people that are just sitting there, doing and saying nothing.
Be white.
Masterclass.
Most of them happen to be farmers. And that's a tough situation. I don't know how you explain that. How do you explain that? They're taking people's land away, and in many cases, those people are being executed. And in many cases, it's not the government that's doing it. It's people that kill them and then take their land, and nothing happens to them. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country. They're also going to Australia in a smaller number. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country, and they're white farmers, and they feel that they're going to die in South Africa, and it's a bad thing.
Ramaphosa just accepted defeat. He said, Donald Trump didn't let this man finish explaining the land expropriation policy. Ramaphosa was trying to get into it and explain it properly, and Donald Trump just cut him off, said, no, we're not here for the truth, my guy. We're here to frame you and paint you as a terrorist. Says people are being killed and their land is being taken. Where is this happening in South Africa? It's not happening. It's not happening. Yes, there are farm killings, but black farmers are also being killed, but no land is being taken. And the farm killings are part of a larger problem of crime. You know, the thing is, I feel stupid trying to explain this because I know exactly what's going on and that it has nothing to do with the actual truth. But because people, when your opponent comes out with a barrage of lies like this, he forces it to be your job to prove him wrong. But he never has to stand on the truth. He never has to do any research. He just comes out, guns blazing with propaganda, and forces you to do research, forces you to explain yourself. And then he comes with another shot of pure propaganda, no facts, no truth, and then forces you to do research. And all the time you're on the back foot trying to find research, scampering to try to explain this and explain that lie and this lie. Then he comes again with the massive megaphone, more propaganda, more lies, more truth. Now you're on the back foot, you're trying to fight back, you're trying to find the evidence, you're trying to find the stats. And he doesn't have to show any stats. He doesn't have to show any evidence. He can show fake evidence and get away with this. This guy should be taken to freaking international jail. Trump, that is, and labeled a terrorist for lying like this. South Africa, actually, y'all need to open a case with the ICJ about what happened here and what's happening with the white genocide farm killings. But you guys won't. You see, if we had real leaders in the country, that's what would be happening. But we don't. These guys are just using this as a way to try to get Starlink into the country.
What can South Africa do? What concessions would you like to see them make to improve relations with the United States? Then I have one more for President Ramaphosa.
Listen to this question. What concessions would you like to see them make to foster this relationship with the United States? Yo. Another carefully crafted propagandist question. And Trump always has to start off by talking about fake news while perpetuating fake news himself. I mean, guys, this is a masterclass in propaganda. This is what Hitler was doing. And all they're doing is gaslighting, gaslighting, gaslighting. They say that you are doing the things that they're actually getting, what they're doing. They frame you as the culprit for doing the thing that they're actually doing. Because they know that if the masses are against you, if the masses are against you and the masses are on their side, then they've won. Because they're the victim or the hero. So America creates a victim, they create a villain, and then pose themselves as the heroes. They create a victim, they create a villain, and then pose themselves as the heroes, the saviors. That's whiteness for you guys. White imperialism creates a victim. And what they do is when the masses are strong, they just divide and conquer. Again, with propaganda.
Those afterwards.
Well, you know, we just spoke about, I got them a very, very complex machine, 150 of them. I was asked by the president if it could help, and I did that. And, you know, I have great feeling for all countries. Look, I deal with all countries, but I have a good feeling for South Africa because I have friends. I have a couple of friends, a few friends here today. I have many friends from South Africa, but many of those friends are not, they can't go back. I have Elon is from South Africa. I don't want to get Elon involved. That's all I have to do, get him into another thing. But Elon happens to be from South Africa. This is what Elon wanted. He actually came here on a different subject, sending rockets to Mars, okay? Yes. He likes that better. He likes that subject better. Right. But Elon is from South Africa, and I don't want to talk to him about that. I don't think it's fair to him. That's right. But I will say that people...
Elon is being presented as a victim of South Africa. He says, you know, Elon is so brilliant. South Africa had someone like Elon, but because they're so racist, they can't launch rockets to Mars. America gets to benefit now. Guys, I'm going to put it like this. If you explain yourself to white people and try to prove their lies wrong, you are walking right into their trap. You're walking right into their trap. Don't ever let them get you on the defensive where you are now going out of your way to try to prove their lies wrong, because you're on the defensive and they're on the offensive. Does that make sense?
People are fleeing South Africa for their own safety. Their land is being confiscated, and in many cases they're being killed. And that scene of, you see how many crosses they have. Those crosses, that's a dead person in every one of them. And those trucks or cars are paying their respects to all of those dead people on a Sunday morning.
That's not true.
That's a rough thing to explain away. And the problem we have, and the way, you know...
Watch this well-orchestrated choir. As soon as Trump is finished telling a lie, the media bum rushes with questions to stop Ramaphosa from being able to explain what the truth is. But watch how as soon as Trump starts speaking again, the chorus of the media dies out. The chorus of media dies out to give him a chance to speak. But when Ramaphosa wants to speak, they don't give him a chance. They drown his voice out. I mean, guys, we're watching a military masterclass here. White people are not interested in the truth. They're interested in power and domination. That's how they're fighting. They're fighting dirty to win. They don't care about the rules. They don't care about the truth. They've got the economic power. And as long as we see, this is how you defeat these people. You crash their economies. And the way to do that is to stop them having access to Africa.
A correct and a fair media exposes things. But we have a very corrupted...
Think about it this way. Why did the Europeans leave Europe and come to Africa in the first place? Why were they exploring, looking for alternatives and ways out and looking for why? Why did they leave? They were living in very harsh climates with no minerals or limited minerals. And then they saw us living a better life. And they said, all right, we're going to kill these people for this shit. We want it. You see that? So I'm telling you, these people will stop at nothing. That's why I don't get how you guys can trust them. It's like you don't understand what you're dealing with.
The media, they won't even report this. If this were the other way around, it would be the biggest story. Now,
Bro, it is reported. You don't live in South Africa. I mean, I can't. Ramaphosa, dog. I mean, these lies are out of control. And this Ramaphosa dude is just sitting there smiling, guys.
now I will say, apartheid, terrible. That was the biggest story. That was reported all the time. This is sort of the opposite of apartheid.
This guy said apartheid was terrible, but it was reported all the time. This is the opposite of apartheid, and it's not being reported. This was the plan all along. White people never wanted to give Black South Africans back their land, minerals, and their sovereignty. The plan was for the Afrikaans government and the British government, together with the American government, to work together to find a way to get that power, that state power that they relinquished, to get it back. We've watched a 30-year plan unfold with the help of Mandela and several other political leaders to give power back to the NPA, to give power back to the apartheid government. And that's what we're seeing right now. They're comparing what's going on now to apartheid. And apartheid is a drop in the ocean compared to 400 years of colonial oppression, guys. Apartheid was just a couple of decades. And they're trying to compare that and say that what's going on right now is apartheid, but in reverse. Guys, do you know the... Okay, hold on. Maybe you don't understand. I want to show you. You know, I want to help
Kali
you
groups it
understand
with
when
the
we talk
singing.
about apartheid, what do we mean? Hold on. Hold on. I want to show you. When we talk about apartheid, I want to give you guys an example so that you can actually understand this thing properly. Yeah. Watch this.
So this is Owendale,
This is
a
Owendale.
community that you and your husband founded?
Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's special about it?
Special about it is the fact that we are only white people staying in the town.
No, man. This is one of the videos, but it's not the actual one I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you a video of how racists were walking around. Just give me a second. While I find this, I want you guys to just have that in front of you. This is Mr. Fake News himself. Hold on. Okay, got it.
Town.
Yeah.
Only white people are allowed to buy in the town.
You know, they're trying to reframe it as apartheid meant separate development, meaning each man to himself. But after you confiscated the land, you took land away from Black South Africans and made sure that they didn't have an opportunity, a feasible opportunity to thrive. And then you also had control of the state. So how is that a fair and equal opportunity to develop in your own separate environments? That's what they're trying to reframe apartheid as now. But yeah, I think this is it. Hopefully this is the video. If it's not, whatever. But I want you to watch something quick.
You see these couple of blacks sitting here now?
Yeah.
Would you like to shoot them?
Another times, yes.
So this is where you actually crossed the street, was it?
Yeah, this is where I crossed the street, yes.
Were you shooting at this time?
No, not at this stage. How are you? I'm a good man.
Where's this chap?
No,
Who is he?
no, I don't know him. He's a fan.
He's a fan. During apartheid, people had the license, they had the freedom. Afrikaans, white people could just kill blacks unprovoked, just on the street. Blacks minding their own business. They could just shoot and kill anyone. And mind you, this is international media reporting it. Local media wasn't reporting this. International media had to expose what was going on and tell the truth to the world. Local media wasn't reporting. And these guys, I mean, look how, I don't want to use the words that I'm thinking, but when you see Afrikaans people like this that take pleasure, or just white people like this that take pleasure in barbaric behavior, it's barbaric. You're just killing people for no reason, unprovoked. They've done nothing to you. Using guns on them, torturing them. For no reason. Other than you're allowed to. That is what barbarianism looks like. That's what it means to literally be an animal. So this is what the apartheid government was, just a bunch of animals killing people for no reason. What's this?
What's he saying? Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Do you speak any English?
Yes, I can speak English.
What were you telling him?
Italian, congratulations. You did what nobody I've got the guts to do.
You did the right thing.
Yeah, I think so. When I come here, I find a white woman sitting in a car and her two children.
Yes.
So I see a black man here. He was standing here, so I pulled him away and I shot him here.
So you pulled him away from the car to shoot in this direction?
Yeah, in this direction so that I don't hurt the whites that were sitting in the car.
What would you have done if you'd actually shot a white?
It would be a disaster thing.
Wow.
By this stage, Stridham had shot 5 victims in the square. He went on to claim another 6 while walking down the street. Men, women, council workers, flower sellers. To him, it mattered not, so long as they were black. Were you feeling good?
Yes, I was feeling very good, yes.
Would you like to do it again?
Not in a normal situation, but always yes.
Tell me this. If I could give you a gun now, would you like to go out and shoot those blacks over there?
Definitely yes.
While Baron Stridham now walks free, Upa Mabina will never walk again. He's one of 15 survivors of Stridham's murderous rampage. He's 44 and the father of 2 boys.
Now, according to Trump, what's happening in South Africa is the reverse of that, which is totally untrue. Black people are getting killed more than white people are in the country. And there's no race-targeted killings like what we just seen in that video, where white people were proud of just assassinating, or as Donald Trump puts it, executing black people openly on the street for no reason. The guy acts like he's trying to save a white family. No, dog, you're just killing people indiscriminately. 15 people injured by this. Just killing indiscriminately with no regard for human life. And he's proud of himself and he gets hailed as a hero by other Afrikaners. I mean, these are the animals we're dealing with, guys. Killing people indiscriminately. And some of them are still alive today, wanting to move to America. And of course, there's a whole propaganda campaign to bring them in. Look, once Starlink is coming to South Africa. South Africa has picked a side. They've decided, not South Africans, but the white puppets have picked, the NPA government has picked America because America picked them. America labeled Mandela as a terrorist, the ANC as a terrorist organization. They've always hated the ANC. When every other nation in the world said that apartheid was wrong, America didn't say that it was wrong. America's always been allies with the NP, with the National Party. And now allowing Starlink to come to the country means that it's a massive security breach because, listen, the day that they're not happy with how we're running our country, they just turn off the internet. You're crying about load shedding. Now, these guys are going to cut your electricity, they're going to cut your internet, and there's also water shedding. So they can cut your water, cut your electricity, and cut your internet. That's the power that the ANC has given to the National Party or to America, who are allies with the National Party. Do you know that 6 or 6.5 of the Afrikaans nuclear bombs are being kept by America for safekeeping? So this battle between America and, this battle for South Africa by the West and the East has much deeper lying implications. Till this day, a lot of the politicians from the apartheid era, the activists, are still blacklisted as terrorists in America till this day. America is an ally of the apartheid government. They are allies with the National Party. They're allies with the DA. And Ramaphosa just sold the country over into more oppression. Now, what should follow next is either South Africans accept neocolonialism and allow themselves to go through another period of white oppression, because if they allow that to happen, the revolution, at least from Black South Africans, will be dead. It will take the group of Africans that are replacing us now, or that are being used by the National Party to replace us, to try to kill the revolutionary spirit. They're bringing in Zimbabweans, Nigerians. They're trying to overpower the foreign population over the Black South African population to secure votes so that they can do it, quote unquote, democratically. Really, they're doing it through a dictatorship and strong arming and economic oppression. And they're going to bring in these, in a multiracial, so-called multiracial society, they're going to bring in Nigerians, Zimbabweans, Zambians, Malawians, and make their population bigger than the Black South African population so that they can rig votes or use that for votes. That initiative is being spearheaded right now. They're trying to make sure that by next elections, the population of Black foreigners that are going to be naturalized and given South African citizenship will overwhelm and be more than the population of Black South Africans revolutionaries. That way, people will say it happened democratically and this is what the people of South Africa want. No. At that point, the cultures in South Africa will be dead. South Africa will just be a melting pot of capitalists who are run by this bourgeoisie of elite whites with a few token Blacks and other token people of color. That's what they're trying to create. Disenfranchising culture from South Africa turns Black South Africans into African Americans. People with no roots, they don't know what to fight for because they don't know who they are, where they come from, and what their history is. Pre-colonial history. That's what they're trying to create with Black South Africans. South Africans are under siege. The real genocide is against Black South Africans right now. And these videos I'm making, they're being deliberately oppressed and suppressed. Sorry, they're being deliberately suppressed to make sure that they never see the light of day because of the topics that I'm talking about. Why? Because I'm on white people's platforms. White supremacists that don't want the truth to come out. The algorithm is designed to pick up on certain words to make sure that they suppress anything that has to do with revolution and truth, and uplift everything that has to do with buffoonery and stupidity and ignorance and distraction.
apartheid. What's happening now is never reported. Nobody knows about it. All we know is we're being inundated with people, with white farmers from South Africa, and it's a big problem. Marco Rubio was telling me he's never seen anything like it. The numbers of people that want to leave South Africa because they feel they're going to be dead very soon. Yes, please. Brian, go.
72% of farmers in your country are white. If they flee, do you feel that maybe the unequal...
Another stage question. Again, they didn't give Ramaphosa a chance to answer or to reply to Donald Trump's lies. Immediately, as soon as Ramaphosa tries to speak, they stop him from speaking, and then they frame questions. Donald Trump's media frames questions as if the genocides are a reality.
Could collapse, you may not have a gap to fill in those people that we replace those farmers.
You know, I'd like my Minister of Agriculture, who is white, who comes from an opposition party to mine, who's joined my government at my invitation to address this very issue, including the question that you just raised. John?
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Mr. President, thank you for welcoming us to the White House. I would say we have a rural safety problem in South Africa. I don't think anyone wants to candy coat that. And it requires a lot of effort to get on top of it. It's going to require more policing resources. It's going to require different strategy to be able.
Now, mind you, the same Steenhuisen, when he was in South Africa, just before he left, he said there's no white genocide in South Africa. And he said that there's no targeted killings of white people. And he said that it's all a lie. Now that he's in front of Trump and in front of the world stage, what does he do? He goes against those words and adopts the script from the colonial masters. He doesn't denounce anything. He actually allows people to think that the farm killings and the genocide claims are true. So Ramaphosa was overwhelmed at this point. He tries to hand the baton over to Steenhuisen to say, hey, you say it, man, because like, tell them that there's no white genocide. That's all he had to say. What does he do? What's this?
To be able to deal with it. But certainly the majority of South Africa's commercial and smallholder farmers really do want to stay in South Africa and make it work. And I've just come from the largest agricultural show in the Southern Hemisphere with organized agriculture and farmers, and the majority of them want to stay. But they too, they have a memorial to those who've died as a result of farm attacks. And as the Minister of Agriculture, it is something that I'm particularly exercised with my colleagues at police and my colleagues in the justice cluster to start making farm attacks and stock theft a priority crime. And it affects all farmers in South Africa, particularly stock theft. It has a disproportionate effect on smallholder black farmers. I also want to just say this, that the two individuals that are in that video that you've seen are both leaders of opposition.
He's like saying this in passing, like affects black farmers. And I want to say, but no, dude, the issue here, you have to emphasize that there's no white genocide. White farmers are not being targeted. That's your job, is to say that today. That's why he's handing the baton over to you, to say those exact words. And watch this coward beat around the bush and not actually address why he was sent there to address, or what he was sent there to address. He's trying to make it seem as if, oh, it's kind of true, but I'm too scared to tell you guys.
Opposition minority parties in South Africa. Mkhonto was seized under Mr. Zuma, and the economic freedom fighters under Mr. Malema. Now, the reason that my party, the Democratic Alliance, which has been an opposition party for over 30 years, chose to join hands with Mr. Ramaphosa's party was precisely to keep those people out of power. We cannot have those people sitting in the union buildings making decisions. And that is why after...
Bro, y'all don't really understand how deep this entire thing is. This guy's supposed to be dispelling a lie and a myth, but he's actually there to tell the world, we have to stop revolution in South Africa and allow for neocolonialism to thrive. That's what he's doing.
30 years of us exchanging barbs across the floor in Parliament and trying to get one over on each other, we've decided to join hands precisely to keep that lot out of government, because the day they get in to the doors of the union buildings in South Africa or control of our Parliament, that's what you're going to see. And that's why this government, working together, needs the support of our allies around the world so that we can strengthen our hand, grow our economy, and shut the door forever on that rabble getting through the doors of the union buildings, because then South Africa's future would be...
So you denounced that type of language in the video that you saw?
Oh yes, we've already done so. As government, as my own party, we are completely opposed to that. We, in 1955, adopted a document which said South Africa belongs to all who live in it.
But why wouldn't you arrest that man? That man said, kill the white farmers, kill the white farmers. And then he danced, and he's dancing, and it's kill the white farmers. I'm not sure, but I think if somebody got up in Parliament and started saying kill a certain group of people, he would be arrested very quickly. That man is going all over South Africa, and that's not a small party. That was a stadium that holds 100,000 people, and I hardly saw an empty seat. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of representation. And those crosses, where you have dead white people, dead white farmers, mostly. And you take a look at Australia, they're being inundated, and we're being inundated with people that want to get out. And their farm is valueless. It's valueless. And they just want to get out with their life. And this is a very serious situation. And if we had a real news or real press or media, we don't have that because they won't talk about this because they're all guys like that idiot. But if we had a real press, it would be exposed. And you know, the beauty of exposing it is it's like a cleansing action. When it gets exposed, it'll get fixed. That's when it'll get fixed. But people don't talk about it. And I'll tell you who's talking about the thousands of people that are fleeing South Africa right now.
We discussed USAID and the devastating impact the cuts are having across the African continent.
You know, it's devastating, and hopefully a lot of people are going to start spending a lot of money. And I've talked to other nations. We want them to chip in and spend money too. And we've spent a lot, and it's a tremendous problem going on in many countries. A lot of problems going on. The United States always gets the request for money. Nobody else helps, as you know. Europe doesn't help. Europe hasn't given anything. All they do is sue our companies. You know, they sue Apple, and they sue all of our companies. Apple had to pay $17 billion on a nonsense lawsuit. Very unfair. But we're going to always be there to help.
The other dynamics show the rights of South African broadcasting. If this Afrikaner resettlement issue is resolved, we're going to go to a room after this, you guys are going to talk. If it is resolved, what's the potential for the future-looking relationships?
It's got to be resolved. It should be resolved. It's a little bit bad when you see a stadium with 100,000 people in it, because that means it's more than just a little movement. It's a pretty big movement in South Africa, so it has to be resolved. It'll be the end of the country if it's not.
Is there potential for the relationship moving forward?
I hope so. That's why I'm here. I mean, I'm not here for my health. I'm here to. No, I'd like to.
That's a threat. It'll be the end of the country if it's not resolved. These guys don't want the South African, and they're not going to let the South African economy crash because they have an interest in colonizing. So they're not going to let any revolution take place. They're going to make sure they destabilize and disrupt and interfere and intervene, because white people are claiming South Africa as something that they built and something that they discovered. So the economy will never crash, is what I'm trying to tell you, because blood must be spilled. That's what is required here, guys. Blood needs to spill. You want your freedom as Black South Africans? Blood must be spilled, guys. I'm talking your own blood. You have to sacrifice. Because these guys are not letting up. They want South Africa, and they've always wanted South Africa. You know, so America's never been against apartheid. They've never been against apartheid. So this relationship is not a mutual one where we have equal status. This is a master and a colony relationship. And Ramaphosa sitting there laughing after his... Bro. Yeah, let me just finish this video.
Like to see, I have friends. I can tell you, Ernie Els and Retief Goosen, they feel so strongly they wanted to be here on behalf of South Africa, not on behalf of me. And, you know, they said, can we be here for this? Because they love the country. Ernie, do you guys want to say a couple of words? I hate to put you in. This is tougher than sinking a three-footer. They've sank many three-footers.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thanks for the honor of being here. We've known each other a long time. We have spoken. You know, we're proud South Africans. I still have my South African passport. You know, we travel with this passport, you know, and I have my visa here. So, you know, but we want to see things.
We have to kill this name, South Africa, because the colonizers named us that because they wanted to put a name on what they had dominated. We are not South Africans. We are in the region, but we identify ourselves according to which kingdom you belong to. What kingdom do these white people belong to? South Africa is not a real thing. We have to stop referring to ourselves as countries. He says he has a South African passport. So just because you have a passport, that means what? Doesn't mean anything. You're not the owners of the land. It's a totally different thing between saying, "Oh, I have nationality here," and being the owner of the land. You're not owners of that land. You stole it.
Get better in our own country. That's the bottom line. It's been 35 years since the transition. President Ramaphosa was right in the middle of the transition time, 1990, and before that. So it's been 35.
It's been 35 years, but there's been 400 years of colonialism in South Africa. You can't reverse that in 30 years, my guy.
Years of ANC government. And I know there's a lot of anger, through the transition. There's also a lot of stuff happening in the apartheid days. We grew up in the apartheid era. But I don't think two wrongs makes a right. President Mandela, when he came out of prison for all that time, didn't come out with hatred, and really unified our nation through sport. We won the Rugby World Cup in '95. We won the.
Notice how Mandela is the go-to guy to try to legitimize racism, because what white people do, they use a token black to continue colonialism. That tells you exactly who Nelson Mandela is and what he represents. He's not a hero. He sold the country and was used as a token because these guys were scared of dying. They wanted money instead of dying for the nation. Chris Honey wasn't scared of dying. That's why they got rid of him. He wasn't scared. He wanted to actually fight for the right thing. And they said, no, we got to get this guy up out of here. But if they do that to all of us, that's a genocide. That's why now, before the next elections, they're replacing us with foreigners. Our vote is not going to have power because we won't be in the majority anymore, guys. I'm telling you. Okay.
African Nations Cup, soccer. We won some majors as golfers and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is, this has been a long time coming. That's why we really wanted to meet you, meet the administration, and see our way forward, because we still want to see our country flourish. We've got some great things going on. Business is getting involved with government. Farmers are getting involved in local municipalities, trying to rebuild some of the infrastructure that's been decaying for a long time. So there's a lot of coexistence going on and help from a lot of areas. But I feel we need the US to push this thing through. We've got a great ally we can have, the US. It's always been an ally of South Africa for a very long time. Even in the days of the war, up in Angola, you guys helped us. So very important for us to have your support and get the change we need.
When did you do that well? He might have done that even better than he plays golf, which is almost impossible. Johan, please.
Sorry, Mr. President, if you had to wind all of those facts properly, you will see I'm the biggest target of that rabble rouser. Number one for over 10 years, Mr. Mandela. In fact, the first time I met him, he was in the youth league with that gentleman. And look how he's changed. Right. We have too many deaths, but it's across the board. It's not only white farmers, it's across the board. And we need technological help. We need Starlink at every little police station. We need drones. I actually got drones donated for the peace parks to stop elephant and rhino poaching. And his predecessor stopped the importation because he said the United States would spy on us. I mean, the US basics is the ridicule. So if you can help us. Remember, sir, you and I lived in New York in the 70s. We never thought New York would be what it became. 2 commissioners, a tough mayor. We need your help to stop this awful killing. But it's across the board. And he's right now building a house in George. I'm building 3 cottages for my grandchildren on a farm outside Graaff-Reinet. I often go to bed without locking the door. And we have a serious problem with illegal aliens who stream across the border. And if you really look at our statistics, a lot of these murders, firstly it's unemployment and illegal aliens. And then I met Vice President Vance many years ago.
And there you have it. He said, if you look at the statistics, which I'm shocked that nobody brought up any statistics. He said, if you look at the stats, illegal aliens are the cause for these farm murders. Illegal foreigners, which means it's not a white genocide, because these illegal foreigners are not South African. They're killing everyone. It's not the government that's saying, let's go. No, they're allowing illegal foreigners to come into the country. Even legal, they're just allowing foreigners to come in, and that's who's killing these people on farms. It's not South Africans, but they're just, you see, because that's the truth. That's not what they're going to report on. They're going to make it seem as if black South Africans are responsible for these farm killings. when in actuality, it's foreigners from Africa that are giving South Africa a bad name. Now we have to bring Starlink in and more imperialist. I hope you guys can see how our fellow brothers and sisters from the continent, so-called brothers and sisters who believe so much in Pan-Africanism, are ruining our name all over the world because of these farm killings. And we're being credited for what these foreigners are doing to destroy our country. South African blacks are being framed. South African black men are being framed for the ills that are being committed by foreigners in South Africa. The evil, the crimes that are being committed by foreigners in South Africa.
The Charlie Rose show. My wife loved the book. And she reminded me this morning that you emphasize the devastation that occurs when big companies leave towns and cities, and there's a culture of dependency that develops. And I remember you discussing it. Now that's our problem. If we don't get our economy to grow, the culture of dependency and the lawlessness will increase. I've been against the apartheid all my life, and I'm the number one.
Dude, that's crazy. To say that if we don't grow the economy, so to grow the economy means allowing foreign investment to come in, right? Which breeds dependency. You're contradicting yourself. If you want to stop dependency, leave the minerals and the land to the people, the home people of that land. Yeah, I'm afraid South Africans have waited far too long. Dude. Hey, the country is...
Please just Google my name and Malema. You'll see it, sir. He marched on the floor.
The crime is bad.
The crime is terrible, sir, but Mr. Steers won't admit to it, but he runs the Western Cape, where I live. And the biggest murder rate is in the Cape Flats. Gangs. We've got gang warfare. Like your M33 working with these guys. We've got people there, but we need your help, sir. And we need a lot of technology.
Well, one of the real areas of support is really in investments. We've got to grow our economy, because through growing the economy, we're then able to create more jobs. Because crime really thrives where there is inequality and unemployment. And that is one of the reasons that has brought us here, to improve our investment relations, our trade relations, so that we can preserve the number of jobs that your companies have created in South Africa. By virtue of what we export to you, we are able to create up to 500,000 jobs in the auto industry, in the agricultural industry, and a number of other industries, mining, where we export things to you. And we also know that as South African companies invest here, you are also able to create jobs. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So our main real reason for being here is to foster trade and investment, so that we are able to grow our economy with your support, and so that we're also able to address all these societal problems, because criminality thrives when people are unemployed, when they have no other hope to eke out a living. So that is what we need to resolve. And your support, your partnership with us, is what is really going to give us a strong capability to move forward.
Ortiz, excuse me, do you have anything to say? I mean, I don't want to leave you out. You know, the guy won 3 or 4 majors. 3 or 4?
No, 2.
That's a lot. By the way, 2's a lot. A lot of tournaments you won too. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. President Ramaphosa. I grew up in an area in South Africa that is a farmland area, Polokwane. Yep. And there is some issues up there. Obviously, my dad was a property developer as well as a part-time farmer. And yeah, some of these buddy farmers got killed. The farm is still going. My brothers run it. But it's a constant battle with farms they're trying to burn the farms down to chase you away. So it is a concern to try and make a living as a farmer. And at the end of the day, you know, without farmers, there's no food on the plate. So we need the farmers to produce the food.
Farming, right? He wouldn't even want to do what you're doing, right? They love farming. They don't want to leave. But it's a struggle.
Yeah, and you know, food and fresh water is the most important thing in life. You know, without those 2 things, you can't survive.
How is the water there?
The water is great. Obviously, all the water comes out of the borehole, out of ground for us down there. But yeah, it is a battle to get the water out sometimes when all the equipment gets stolen all the time. That you try to get
So
water
does your
out.
family and your brother, do they feel safe on the farm?
They live behind electric fences, you know, try and be at night safe. But it's constant whenever you leave that something could happen. And
there's nowhere to live.
You know, both of them has been attacked in their houses. My mom's been attacked in her house when she was 80. So it is difficult. But you know, the guys live a great life despite everything going on.
Something.
President Trump, I brought along the president of the largest trade union in our country, Ziggy Solosi, because she leads many, many workers, more than 1 million, 2 million workers, and maybe we should give her a chance to say something because she's come all the way to join us.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for having us and President for extending the invitation to us as organized labor. And I must say that we are here to support the initiative that is made by our government with business, of course, as organized labor. We've been coming to Washington on the AGOA trade relations in the previous regime. And I think at the center of it all, for me, it is exactly what Mr. Rupert has said, the importance of us growing the economy. We have always emphasized when we were here and kept on coming and negotiating on AGOA that the 600 US companies that are based in South Africa, as you said, President Ramaphosa, 500,000 jobs will be wiped out. We need more foreign direct investment in our country. We are not just talking about those that will lose employment, but we are talking about over 40% of people that are.
So how is this not fostering dependency, Mr. Rupert, Johan Rupert? She just said if those 600 companies leave, 500,000 people will lose their jobs. So how is the solution direct foreign investment? How is that making us less dependent? How does that not foster more dependency? Because essentially now what's happening is if we don't play ball with America, the punitive measures of this are that they pull their companies out of our country and 500,000 people are unemployed. Or they cut our internet, Starlink. Or they cut our electricity and water. How is this not a dependency? I mean, it's just contradiction after contradiction here. This is just neocolonialism that is being disguised as aid.
Unemployed, that have no hope of ever finding a job. And we think that, correctly, as they have said, that we need to deal with the issue of porous borders in our country so that everyone that comes in is documented. We also need to, and I would have thought that the minister would address the issue of land.
They're not saying, let's prioritize South Africans. They're saying we need more people to come in. We just have to find a way to make sure that they have documents. In other words, guys, this is how your vote is going to get replaced. They're going to give these guys citizenship. These foreigners that are coming in, they're going to give them citizenship so they can participate in our elections and overpower the black South African vote. So these black foreigners that are coming in are bought. They're going to be bought by these businessmen to make sure that they vote along with the DA.
Appropriation and how the policy works in South Africa. Recently, President, as you were preparing to come here on the news, in I think it was in Natal, there was a handover of farms, and white farmers were saying, we are donating the land, but also there's a willing buyer, willing seller in South Africa. So there's no expropriation without compensation, but it is a willing buyer, willing seller. And that white farmer was even saying, President, that
the problem is now you guys want to come with the truth and the statistics and the facts, and it doesn't matter. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you guys? The truth doesn't matter if your opponent has a louder megaphone. You're trying to tell the truth. These guys don't care about the truth.
the government is even paying more in buying the land than what the land is worth of. And I think those are the realities, President, that we must say that we need to address, of course, but also the importance of agriculture linked to AGOA. People rely on it, and I think, as Retief have said, for survival and living. But lastly, for me, President, is also the issue of the crime statistics. There is no doubt about it that we are a violent nation, you know, for a number of reasons, and we're not condoning anything. But also, if you go into the rural areas,
we are not a violent nation. We need to stop taking credit for crimes that we're not committing. These crimes are being committed by foreigners. We're not a violent nation.
where black majority are, you would see women, elderly, being raped, being killed, being murdered, and these are black elderly women that would be found throat slits, raped multiple times and all of that. And the problem in South Africa, it is not necessarily about race, but it is about crime. And we think that we are here to say, how do we, both nations, work together to reset, to
The problem in South Africa is foreigners. Foreigners coming into the country committing crimes. That's all. End of story. The problem of South Africa is foreigners coming into the country committing crimes.
to really talk about investment, but also help us in how we can have the technology and everything that is needed, President, to really address the levels of crime that we have in our country. Thank you very much.
Genocide is a very strong word. I'm wondering if you can make up your mind as to whether you believe genocide is occurring in South Africa or you still doubt, and if you can make up your mind, why invite President Ramaphosa here?
You'll notice they're not giving a chance to the South African journalist, the Tsidi, who's been trying several times to ask a question. She's being totally ignored. She's being completely ignored in this orchestrated propaganda stage piece that we're seeing here. Totally staged.
Well, I haven't made up my mind. I hate to see it from the standpoint of South Africa, but also, I'm trying to save lives. I'm working with Russia and Ukraine. I don't have to do that. It's not our war. It was started by other people. It was helped along by our past administration. It would have never happened if I were president, but I'm trying to save lives. I don't know where. Rwanda, I have nothing to do with Rwanda and the Congo, but I felt I had a very talented person in this administration, and I sent him there, and he did an unbelievable job. I think, we're going to find out, but he's done the hardest part of the job. It should happen. If I can save lives, I want to save the lives. If it's in Africa, that's great. If it's in Europe, if it's wherever it may be. And
now they're framing themselves as heroes. So first they create the victims, the white Afrikaners. Then they create the villain, the black South Africans. And now Trump is being posed as the guys. It worked. We watched this thing develop in stages. The first act was the victim is white Afrikaners. The second act was the villain is black South Africans. The third act is America's going to step in and save the day. We just watched the story unfold, guys. This is filmmaking.
And it's a very small investment to do, believe me, compared to what the consequences are. So I hope we can do something. Look, I have so many friends. These two men, I have great admiration for them because I know what they do for a living. Yeah. And that's a very hard living, going from city to city, from country to country, and hitting a ball 350 yards like they do, and getting the ball in the hole. It's a very tough, with lots of people watching, right? Yes, that's a very tough living. They're champions. I respect champions, and I respect very much, and I think the country is very lucky. They really wanted to be here. They could be.
Bruh, what does them playing golf have anything to do with our government? He said, I respect them because they're champions. Yeah, but you can be a champion in sports. It doesn't mean you should speak on South African politics. This doesn't happen anywhere else, bro. This is this delegate, bro, the violations here are just
Be elsewhere. They could be on a beautiful fairway someplace, and they wanted to be here. So.
My name is Yana from Newsroom Africa in South Africa. How important is it for the United States to be at our G20 summit in November, given the relationship between our two countries? You just heard.
Wrong question to ask. Stupid question. So we're just accepting the lie of the white genocide? Stupid question. Wow.
What has been said to you just now? Are you coming, and are you preparing to come?
So without the United States, the G20, just like the G7, used to be the G8, but brilliantly they threw Russia out. It would have been a lot better if Russia was in. A lot of people would say, oh, that's not because if Russia was in, you probably wouldn't have this war. And if you had a different president, you wouldn't have the war either. But we have a G7. It's important that the United States is in both of them. I think without the United States, I really believe it's not very important. It's not the same meaning.
As I said to President Trump, the U.S. really originated the G20. And it's important
Bro, shut up.
That the United States continues to play a key.
Ramaphosa is stuck on stupid. He's stuck on playing the old tape, the political rhetoric. He's stuck on playing that political rhetoric. He can't say anything outside of that. Anyway, I'm going to end the video here with this shot of Trump complaining about fake news while showing fake news. Oh yeah, let me title it something else. Let me title this something else. Oh, really? Okay. Hold up. Let me give it a title. Yo. Wow. So it's come to this now? Anyway, guys.